Hey there, and welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that, well, it feels like it's straight out of sci-fi. Large language models, or LLMs for short, like GPT. Everyone's buzzing about it. But what do these AI powerhouses actually mean for the future of our jobs? Well, buckle up, because we're cutting through the hype to bring you the need-to-know insights from a brand new research paper. Think of this deep dive as your cheat sheet. Your cheat sheet to understanding the potential impact of LLMs, all tailored just for you. Okay, so let's get down to business. The paper we're diving into is called GPTs are GPTs, an early look at the labor market impact potential of large language models. Quite a mouthful, right? It was just published on August 22nd, so it's hot off the presses, so to speak. Now, before you picture robots stealing everyone's jobs, let me assure you, this isn't about some distant dystopian future. This paper tackles how LLMs are already changing the way we work right now across a huge range of professions.
That's exactly right. The sheer speed at which LLMs are evolving makes this kind of analysis so important. This isn't science fiction. It's about understanding the very real shifts already underway in the workplace.
And this paper doesn't hold back. It dives right in with a pretty staggering statistic. LLMs could potentially impact a whopping 80% of the U.S. workforce. 80%, that's huge. Now, before you hit the panic button, the researchers are estimating that for most people, it'll mean about 10% of their specific job tasks will be impacted. Naturally, some jobs will be more affected than others.
And here's a crucial point. Impact doesn't necessarily equal job loss. Instead, it's about how LLMs might change the way we work, often making us faster and more efficient at what we do.
So it's more about LLMs working with us, not necessarily replacing us altogether.
Precisely. In fact, the researchers make a distinction between two ways LLMs could impact our jobs. First, there's direct exposure, which is what you might imagine interacting directly with something like ChatGPT to help you with a task.
Okay, so like using ChatGPT to analyze data or help draft a report. That makes sense.
Exactly. But then there's what they call LLM plus exposed, which is where things get really interesting.
LLM plus exposed. Okay, I'm all ears. What makes that different?
Think of LLM plus exposed as software that's been supercharged by these language models. It's not just about using ChatGPT directly. It's about entirely new tools built on top of this technology. Imagine software designed for hyper-specific jobs, like a tool for lawyers that can instantly summarize complex legal cases, or a platform for marketers that analyzes massive amounts of data to pinpoint emerging trends.
So instead of replacing us, LLMs become this powerful engine driving a whole new generation of work tools. That could change how we approach tasks in a fundamental way.
Now you're getting it.
Hey.
And that's incredibly exciting, but also comes with a new set of questions and considerations.
We'll definitely dive into those, but first, there's another finding from this paper that really caught my eye. It suggests that the jobs most impacted by LLMs might not be the ones we expect. There's this fascinating graph in the paper that shows a link between higher wages and a greater likelihood of being impacted by LLMs.
It's definitely a finding that challenges a lot of assumptions. Most people assume automation will primarily threaten entry-level or manual labor jobs. But this research suggests something else is at play.
Exactly. It's not the robots taking over the factory scenario we often hear about. So what's the explanation here?
One theory is that higher-paying jobs often involve a lot of information processing, critical thinking, communication. Tasks that, as we've seen, LLMs are becoming increasingly good at.
So does this mean everyone earning above a certain salary should start polishing their resumes?
Not at all. It's crucial to understand that this finding doesn't mean high-paying jobs are doomed. It simply highlights the need to look closer at the specific tasks within those jobs. Some tasks within a role might be more susceptible to change than others.
This is really making me think about how my own job might evolve, which, speaking of, isn't limited to just a handful of industries. This research found that the potential impact of LLMs goes way beyond just tech or AI development. We're talking about potential ripple effects across healthcare, finance, education, even creative fields like writing and translation.
Exactly. This isn't just a tech industry story. It's about how LLMs could reshape work across the board. And to really bring that point home, the paper dives into some specific examples.
Oh, I love a good example. Give me the highlights.
We'll take survey researchers, for instance. Imagine LLMs helping them analyze mountains of data or even conduct surveys themselves, or writers and authors. These models could assist with research, generating content, maybe even co-authoring entire books.
Whoa, co-authoring books. Now that's a game changer. I'm also curious about the impact on fields like translation and interpretation.
Right. LLMs have the potential to automate parts of the translation process,
Oh,
or even provide real-time assistance during live interpretation.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. So it sounds like this research is urging all of us, regardless of our professions, to really start thinking about how these LLMs might change the game for our own work.
It's a call to action. This isn't some abstract future possibility. It's about understanding a very real force that's shaping the present and future of work for all of us.
It's definitely a lot to process, but that's what I love about these deep dives. It's about going beyond the headlines and getting a more nuanced understanding of these complex issues. And one thing that's becoming clear is that while the potential impact of LLMs is enormous, it's not necessarily about mass unemployment, right?
Exactly. That whole robots taking our jobs narrative is often oversimplified and honestly a bit misleading. This research actually paints a much more complex and, dare I say, optimistic picture.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this optimistic perspective. What does the paper suggest about the future of work, especially given these rapid advancements in LLM technology?
Well, remember how we talked about LLMs potentially augmenting human capabilities? This paper dives into the possibility of these models significantly boosting productivity across the board.
Yeah, the idea of AI taking over those tedious, time-consuming tasks, freeing us up to focus on more creative, strategic, or human-centered aspects of our work, it's definitely an appealing idea. But how does this research support that?
The researchers estimate that by incorporating LLMs into workflows, we could see about 15% of all worker tasks in the U.S. being completed significantly faster, all without sacrificing quality. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you factor in the potential of that LLM plus exposed software we discussed, that number jumps to somewhere between 47% and 56% of all tasks.
Wow. Okay, so we're potentially talking about a massive increase in efficiency and productivity across a huge range of jobs. That's pretty significant.
It is. And it's this potential for such a massive productivity boost that has many economists and researchers calling LMs a general purpose technology.
General purpose technology. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a new one. What makes that designation so significant?
It signifies a rare breed of innovation that can completely reshape the entire structure of an economy. We aren't just talking about individual jobs or industries here. It's about a much larger shift.
Okay, so big picture stuff. Are we talking about game changers throughout history, like the printing press, electricity, the internet, and now potentially LLMs?
You got it. And just like those historical examples, it's almost impossible to predict with absolute certainty exactly how this transformation will unfold. But the signs are there that LLMs have the potential to be just as impactful.
It really makes you think about how we even begin to prepare for that kind of future. It's not just about learning new software, it's about being adaptable, curious, and ready to embrace entirely new ways of working.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's precisely the kind of critical thinking this research encourages.
This entire conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. So to wrap things up, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today?
The future of work is being written right now, and LLMs are poised to play a major role. It's not about robots taking over, it's about understanding how this technology will reshape how we work, and more importantly, how we can prepare ourselves for that future.
Words to ponder, my friend. As always, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. Until next time.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the potential for LLMs to reshape tasks, boost productivity, maybe even become as transformative as the internet. But before we wrap things up, what are the potential downsides of this LLM revolution? I mean, this level of technological change is bound to create some bumps in the road. That's an important point to raise. And to the researchers' credit, they don't shy away from addressing potential challenges. They actually draw parallels between the rise of LLMs and the historical impacts of other general-purpose technologies.
And I'm guessing those historical parallels aren't all sunshine and roses. Progress often comes with a few growing pains.
Exactly. Think about the Industrial Revolution. It ultimately led to incredible advancements in productivity and standards of living. But it also caused significant social and economic upheaval. Jobs were lost, industries were disrupted, and it took time for society to adapt.
So are we headed for another Industrial Revolution-style shakeup, but this time with AI at the helm?
It's not about making predictions or being alarmist. The point is that with any powerful new technology, there will be shifts in how we work. The researchers emphasize that we need to be proactive in anticipating and mitigating potential downsides.
So less about predicting doom and gloom, and more about being prepared and steering things in a more positive direction.
Exactly. This research is a call to action for policymakers, business leaders, educators, frankly, all of us, to start thinking critically about how we navigate this transition.
What would that look like in practical terms? What concrete steps can we take, both individually and as a society, to harness the power of this technology while minimizing the risks?
That's the million-dollar question. While this particular paper doesn't offer a step-by-step guide, it does highlight some key areas to focus on. For starters, education and retraining will be absolutely essential. As the skills needed for certain jobs evolve, we need to ensure people have access to the training they need to thrive in this new landscape.
Right? Because clinging to the jobs of the past isn't a winning strategy. It's about being adaptable, learning new skills, and being open to new possibilities.
Exactly. This research encourages us to stay curious, embrace lifelong learning, and focus on developing those uniquely human skills that will be more valuable than ever in the age of LLMs.
Well, this entire conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. So to wrap things up, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today? The future of work is being written right now. And LLMs are poised to play a major role. It's not about robots taking over. It's about understanding how this technology will reshape how we work. And more importantly, how we can prepare ourselves for that future.
Words to ponder, my friend. As always, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. Until next time.